Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Munley speaking with Jim Ryun. Later in the afternoon now, we're watching a rerun of his historic mile run here at the Kansas State Track Meet at Wichita State University. And Jim is going to talk about his race as he watches the rerun here, so the folks at home can watch the race and hear what Jim thought while he was running. Jim, were you really up for this one?
Yes, I was. Towards the end of the week while we tapered down and rested so it would be ready.
I think we have a awards presentation or something coming up here. How many miles do you normally run in a week's time, Jim?
Well, in the early season, we run about 15 miles a day, but towards the end, we are working more on sprints, and the distance is not so much. Usually, it's about 10, 12 miles or so.
Mm-hmm. How about your diet, Jim? Do you eat special foods or anything special?
No, I don't. Sometimes it might help, but I never follow any certain diet.
Mm-hmm.
Except for just before a meet, then I will watch what I eat.
What do you normally eat on the day of a race?
Well, nothing particular. I just try not to eat anything 7 hours before I run or so.
Mm-hmm. In other words, you don't have a thing except maybe a little water.
Right.
Mm-hmm. How about the wind today, Jim? Did it bother you very much?
No, and this is a surprising thing. I thought it would, but it didn't at all. I might say here that the two boys that ran second and third really did help me, and I think that Mike Pedersen, the boy that ran second and eventually finished second, sacrificed his race just to help me, and this is a great thing, I think.
There's the start of the race, Jim.
I moved that pretty good, and then Mike stuck in right behind me, and then Steve Perry from North followed right behind him, and they stayed this way until a little after the half.
Mm-hmm. How did the track feel to you?
It was a very good track. I thought at first it might be a little bit too loose, but it was not. It was very fast.
How about the crowd today? There was about 7,000 or 8,000 people here, and they really whooped it up for you.
Yes, they did, and I really appreciate it.
Does the crowd help a runner?
Sometimes. Now, it depends. A lot of times, the runner may not even notice the crowd.
Did you notice the crowd today?
Part of the time, I did.
How about the last lap?
No, I didn't then. I was concentrating on sprinting and trying to bring it in.
Well, these two boys, your teammate Pedersen and Steve Perry of North, who's running third here, stayed with you pretty well through the, more than half of the race. Those footsteps behind help you?
Yes, they do. They make you realize that you might be a little bit slow and you have to pick it up. They keep you awake mentally. And he did, like I say, sacrifice his race to help me, and I really appreciate this.
Well, you ran the first split there in 58 seconds. Did that please you?
Yes, this is about what we had planned. My first 220 was 28, and then my first quarter was 58, and this is pre-race strategy. My 220 was 129. I was a little bit slow there, but not very much.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're in the second lap of the race now. You ran this quarter mile in 62.8. Did that go along with your strategy?
I wanted to run a little bit faster. We thought maybe we might pass the half at about 158, but I was a little bit slow as usual in my second quarter. As you see, Mike's tiring a little bit, and so is Steve, but they did a great job, and they should be commended for it. Steve, the one that's in third, is a junior, and boy, I'm sure glad I'm not going to be here next year because he's really going to tear him up.
Well, Jim, of course, you are going to the University of Kansas next year, is that correct?
Yes, and Mike Pedersen is too.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, get that Perry, the boy that's running third there, and another miler, and you'd have a great 4-mile relay team up there in 2 years. What were you thinking about at this particular part of the race in the third lap now?
I was worried a little bit about my pace because we had planned possibly to pass the half at about 158, but I was a little bit slow, so the thing that was in my mind most was picking up a bit and try and pick up the pace so that I'd pass the 3/4 at about 3, and I was a little bit slower there too.
Just a 3:02 something.
Yes.
Jim, while we're in the third lap here, because I'd like you to talk mostly in the fourth lap here about what you felt and your strategy in the last lap. Of course, it was all-out sprint, I guess, wasn't it?
Yes.
How fast, I know this is maybe a silly question, but how fast do you think you can run before this is over?
I'd really rather not say right now. I'd feel like I can improve, but I'm not certain how fast I can go. I have a long ways to go before I match anybody like Peter Snell, that's for sure.
You'll be running against Peter Snell either the end of this month or the beginning of next in California, won't you?
Yes. Right now, things figure that I will run against him twice at Compton Relays and then at the National AAU. Now, I don't know whether this is going to work out or not, but this is what we've planned.
Well, now you're really pouring it on with just about half a lap to go. Did you think you had it here?
I wasn't sure. I noticed that I passed with 2:20 to go. I had 30 seconds, and usually my last 2:20 is pretty strong, so I thought I might have a real good chance.
Were you hurting a bit here?
Yes, I was getting a little bit tight and tired. But it surprised me. My last 2:20 was 27, and it's fairly well.
Well, you ran the last quarter mile in 55.9, which is great.
Yes, I'm very surprised at that. Happily surprised.
Who did you look back for?
I looked back for Mike to see where he had finished, and I didn't see him at the time, but I eventually found out he finished second.
Well, you ran a 3:59 out in California in open competition. Were you more tired after that race or this race? Or do you remember?
I was tighter after this one. The same way it was last year at the state high school meet. I was real tired after the high school meet there, and the same here. The difference is they led my race out there, and I just followed, and it'll be more or less the same thing when I get into open competition, and this is all a difference.
Well, Jim, we want to congratulate you very much on 3:58.3 timing, which is phenomenal. The first time the 4 minutes been broken in Kansas, and of course, this is the second time you've been under in competition, and we know you've got a lot in front of you, and we want to wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.